Hey, welcome back to the How to Podcast series. It's Dave with you. I hope you're doing amazing. Thanks for being here. Thanks for pressing play. Thanks for checking out the show. I want to talk a little music with you today. Music, you know, the stuff we do at the beginning and the end of the podcast, that kind of stuff, but from a different perspective, maybe. I've been doing music for 46 years. That sounds weird to say out loud. 46 years I've been doing music. I'm trying to convince myself that that's a real number, but it is. It is. I started when I was 10. I'm 56, so Dave's really good at math. Woo! 46 years of music. Now, over 46 years of music. Again, I'm trying to convince myself by saying it. Anyway, over the years, I've had the honor and the privilege to play with a lot of amazing musicians, talented people like the coolest people ever. I've played in front of my heroes. I've had my heroes play in front of me, like open for bands that I was in, which is absurd that they would play for us. But anyway, I've had some pretty amazing opportunities. Been on large stages, really tiny, small stages, played to empty bars, packed bars. The whole building was shaking. I've had a lot of very interesting experiences on stage, in the studio, over these long years. And there's stuff that happens behind the scenes for a band that directly correlate to what we do as podcasters. And I want to share some of my musical experiences and lessons learned in rehearsal, in the studio, on stage, that I think could really help your podcast to be better. So, yeah, I'm glad you're here. Let's jump into this. It's going to be a lot of fun. So when we work together as a band, one of the things we need to get clear right from the beginning is you have a collection of people. And musicians are notoriously known to be creative. And when you get a bunch of creative people together, there's a little bit of friction, right? Because everybody wants to be creative. Everybody wants to do their thing. And there's not a lot of people in a band that sit back and let things happen. Everybody wants to get their little piece of the pie into the mix, right? So the drummer wants to do this, the guitar player wants to do that, the singer wants to do that, the bass player's like, hey, what about me? Everybody's trying to find their spot, find their musical term, groove in the band. And we all show up and we all bring everything that we are, good and bad, into the band. Bands don't just show up and hope that it works. We show up rehearsed and ready, good band members do, show up rehearsed and ready to perform. We're not kind of faking it as we go. We're not trying to make it up on the spot. There's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes that makes it seem like it's effortless. But there's a lot of hard work behind the scenes. We have to rehearse before we perform. And this part is what really gets me as a podcaster and as a coach for podcasters and a consultant for podcasters, is the lack of desire for podcasters like you and like me to actually invest in their craft. Like to really put in some serious time on the mic before ever pursuing anything substantial in your podcast. Now, practice on the mic could be throwaway episodes that you record and you never release. That's one thing. You can also just record a bunch of episodes realizing that you're not podcast famous yet, and it's okay to put out an episode that's not, perfect, but it's out there. And the best way for you to get better is to put yourself out there. Not every band is perfect. Not every band has it all figured out. one of my favorite bands is U2. And if you go back to their very, very early days of U2, people say they're so creative. Like the sounds that they were making back at the first couple albums, they're so unique. Yeah, they're unique because the only person who really knew how to play an instrument was the drummer. Everybody else was just figuring it out. So they recorded what they knew and they put it out there, and people loved it because it was so unpolished. It was so raw. It was so terrible that they didn't care. Every album was built on the last album, and they continued to build from there. They were learning as they go. They weren't perfect out of the gate. The band you hear today is not the same band you heard on the first album because they were learning their instruments. They didn't understand how everything worked and how they worked together as a group. They were figuring it out. But they put in the time. They rehearsed. They spent time learning their parts. They spent time working together as a group to find their identity as a group. And as podcasters, I'm in shock and awe at the lack of desire to invest the time to get better. People come to podcasting at times and think that if I just record a single episode and put it out there, I'll be famous. And money is going to fall from the podcast heavens above. And I will be viral, super famous. And no, that's not how it works. Bands don't just show up and hope that the music works and that the band sounds great. They rehearse. And as a podcaster, that means we need to know our topic. We need to understand our guest. We need to have some form of loose structure around what we do. We don't really need a script, but we need some form of direction. Preparation creates confidence, and confidence creates flow. And when you find a great band that has a great flow to what they do, that comes from preparation. It's not a bunch of randomness that just somehow magically happens. There's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes to make this come alive. And as podcasters, we need to rehearse before we perform. So when's the last time you just rehearsed as a podcaster? Time to go back to the basics and start over. It's time to rehearse. Another part about band stuff is that we all need to know our own parts. One of the benefits that I have musically, which I'm very happy to have because of my parents pushing me in this direction, is I know how to play multiple instruments. So I can play drums, piano, guitar, and bass. Guitar and bass would probably be the two main ones for me, but knowing how to play and have played drums and piano before, I have a musical sense of what everyone else is doing. So when I listen to a song, I can pick out just audibly all the different parts. I can hear the kick drum. I can hear the hi-hats and the cymbals and the toms. I can hear the bass runs. I can hear the multiple guitar layers. I can hear the keys and how they come in, how they leave, and is that a single note? Is that a chord? Like, I was at a Honeymoon Suite concert in Niagara Falls years ago with my wife, Jen, and there's a song where the keyboard player plays a single note, kind of like a ding, 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 this constant, repetitive one note. And in the song, I knew it was coming, and we were front row. I could reach up onto the stage and touch the keyboard's foot. Not that I would, because that's kind of creepy, but that's how close he was. He was right above us. Like, we had to crank our necks back, and he's right there. And when that song came up, I knew that part was coming. So my wife and I both did an air piano, air keyboard, and we hit the single note as he was doing it. And it made him laugh so hard that he almost screwed up playing, which was fun. That's really cool. Another artist, there was a kind of a country type song, and in it there was the sound of a whip, and she get that whoosh, right? And in the recording, that sound is there whoosh, but in the concert, they didn't have the sound. So where the sound would have been, my sister and I were at that show. We made the hand movement for the but there was no sound, and the singer, he just started cracking up. Stephen Curtis Chapman. He started laughing again because we were front row, because I love front row. We were front row, and we were doing the hand signs as if we had a whip in our hands, right? And he just started cracking up. So knowing all these parts, I can pick things out. And one of the things I learned early as a musician was to be able to listen to a song and just having my ears be able to pick out all of the different parts and kind of like separate them. Kind of like, you know, when you were a kid and you didn't want your food to touch each other, so you had little sections in your plate, so the peas didn't touch the potatoes and the potatoes didn't touch right? Everything was separate, had its own little space. I could take one complete meal or one complete song and break it into all the different parts. And it's really interesting to do that. And if you're not musical by any means, then I challenge you to pick your favorite song and just put your headphones on or go in a spot where you can really focus on what you're listening to. Shut your eyes. That works for me. Shut your eyes and start to pick out all the instruments that you can and really listen to just one instrument in the recording and drown out and kind of ignore the rest. It's really interesting. But in all of this, that kind of musical knowledge helped me to learn my part. Help me to know my role in the band. And as podcasters, you need to figure out what your role is in this conversation, in this episode, as a guest, as a host. You need to figure out your role within what's happening in your show. The lead guitar player doesn't always play the drums. They're there to play the guitar. And the drummer doesn't try to sing over top of the main lead vocalist. Everybody needs to know their space and do what they do and do it well. The idea that everybody just kind of swaps and moves around mid-song, that's going to be chaos. Everyone needs to know their spot and do it well. On your podcast, the host is the guide, right? You as the podcast host, you're the guide of the show. The guest is there to share and bring added value to the content. The co-host, if you have one, supports the host. And nobody's fighting for control. Nobody's fighting for someone else's role. We're all there to help each other. Problems start when the roles kind of blur out others and everyone tries to do everything or compete or take someone else's role. Clarity creates space in podcasting. And when space creates better conversations, it happens because everybody knows their role and knows their part. There's another part to music, and I want you to watch this at the next live show that you go to, is that musicians take turns and let others take the spotlight and let others do their solos. Watch what happens when you watch another live concert and watch how the band interacts with each other when a solo comes out. That element and that practice needs to find its way into your podcast. Every great band member knows when to step back and let someone else shine. You'll see, like, the guitar player will step out of the band and walk more to the front of the stage in front of the audience, signaling that it's their turn, right? The saxophone player, which you know is on stage and you know they're part of the band, steps out from their regular spot and the light turns to them and the rest of the band gets darkened on stage and it's them, right? The drum solo, the ever-present drum solo for most rock bands, where the whole band seems to leave and the drummer's left alone to play. All of these are like moments and spotlight moments for the band to feature the different musical talents of the people on stage. Because otherwise they're all kind of mixed together as this one kind of mix, and it's hard to really tell all the different people apart. When somebody gets the spotlight, it's all about them and their skills and their talents. As podcasters, There's going to be times where you're going to have to step into the shadows and let somebody else have the spotlight. Every great band knows when to step back and let someone else shine. As a podcaster, this will show up in your show as you let your guest finish their thoughts before you jump in and try to talk over them. You don't interrupt a powerful moment. You don't transition too quickly from a meaningful, thoughtful, expressive moment of deep relevance into something lighthearted. There's this listening and attention to the moment. You ask questions that open doors, not close doors. Your job in podcasting as a podcaster, whether you have guests or not, is to not to dominate the show or the conversation. It's to elevate what's happening. We take turns and we let other people shine. Sometimes the best thing we can do is just stay out of the way. And I've been in bands where on bass guitar, for example, the guitar player gets tons of front stage time and I'm just in the back with the drummer just chugging away. And that's fine. Myself and the drummer were rhythmic players and we hold the bottom down for the song. Take the two of us out of the mix and all you have is a screaming guitar and a vocalist. And nobody's dancing to that. Nobody. It's the bass and the drums that keep it all together. And it's fun. It's fun to know that and to see the response of the crowd as soon as the rhythm section starts kicking in. That's when people start to move. Take turns and let other solo in your podcast. It's okay. It's okay for let somebody else to step forward and take their moment in the spotlight. It's all right. We also need to listen more like a musician. Musicians can sometimes get caught up in what they're doing. I don't know if that ever happens to you. You just get caught up in your own world and everything else just kind of fades away. And you're like, oh, I don't even know what happened in the last 5 minutes. I have no idea. I was so in my thoughts. I was so in my head. Yeah, musicians can do that too. We get so caught up in what we're playing and all of that we don't listen to each other. And that's scary. A good band listens to each other. Watch a band live. And when the band turns and all faces the drummer, for example, or turns towards each other, steps away from their position and walks over to another part on the stage and plays with and accents the person next to them, a fellow musician. Those are all moments. Yeah, they might seem a little scripted, a little predictable, but that's actually really fun. And I would do that in one of my bands I was in for a long time. The guitar player was kind of stationary. Like he didn't move too much. Really great guitar player, but he didn't really travel on the stage. So I would come all the way from the other side of the stage behind the singer to where he was because I could hear myself in the monitors and everything on the stage. So I could walk around and I would walk over to him and he would be like almost nervous, like, what's going on? Why are you here? Why are you standing beside me? And I just wanted to stand beside him because I knew what was coming next. I knew what he was going to be playing next. And I wanted to show that I was listening to him, even in the song. Yeah, I have my stuff to know, but I knew what was coming from him. And I wanted to listen more. Bands don't just play, they listen. They adjust in real time. They self-modulate. They up their volume, lower their volume. They mix themselves as well on stage. And podcasters, we should do the same. Respond. Don't reload your next question. Listen to the person that just talked to you. There's gold there. And for you to jump to the next thing because it's on your list, you're missing an opportunity. You got to listen to what people are saying on your show. Follow the energy of the conversation. If your guest is somber and thoughtful, then don't be bubbly and light. It's oil and water in that moment. Pick up on the tone and the emotion and the pacing of what's going on and self-modulate yourself. Volume-wise, energy-wise, all of that stuff needs to come through you as you listen to what's happening on stage and for you then on your podcast. Listening turns an interview into a conversation, and conversations are what audience connect with the most. Think about that. Play off each other. Super important as a band member. Play off each other. Great musicians build on what others create, not just what they create. They don't ignore it. They expand on what's happening around them on stage and in a band situation. On your podcast, you can reference what your guest just said and kind of build upon it. You can tie ideas together that even your guest didn't do. You can create callbacks where something that happened at the beginning of the episode naturally comes to a completion at the end of the episode, and you can reference what happened earlier and tie it all together. Audiences love a great callback. That's why audience members love a great comedian, because they have a way of introducing something at the beginning of their set, referencing it kind of throughout the set, and then wham, at the very end, they do it again. And you're like, oh, that's so satisfying to hear you do that and make that connection for us and tie it all together in a big bow. This is what makes your show feel alive and not segmented and disconnected and overly scripted and predictable. We play off each other. And this whole idea of tying things together is something really interesting that's happened for me just recently on Living the Next Chapter. Living the Next Chapter is my author podcast. Has been going for over 4 years now, about 790 episodes at the time of recording this. And over that period of time, I've had some really amazing people on. I had a university professor on from Switzerland, wrote 3 separate books at 3 different times in his life. And when he came on, he went through and he talked about all 3 of his books. And I asked him in the interview, what's the common thread between these 3 books? And he said to me in the interview, there is no common thread. And I'm like, well, can I offer one? And he's like, okay. And I said, well, you're the author, so you wrote them all, so you're the common thread. He's like, okay, you got me there. I said, there's one other one. I said, when I heard you talk about these 3 books, it sounds like you're wrestling with your own self-identity as an author, as a person. And he looked at me, and there was a silence for a second. And he said, what did you say? And I'm like, uh-oh. So I repeated, and I gave an example from each of the books that he had explained on the show already. And I said, each of these just seems to point towards wrestling with self-identity. Stated my case again. I was listening. I was tying things together and ideas together. And his response was, I have never put those 3 things together before. Ever. And now you're making me rethink everything I've ever done. He's like, who are you? So that was interesting. I had another author on, and he wrote a fictional story about a teenage boy who lost his mother to a drunk driving accident and him wrestling with his loss of his mother and a bunch of other journeys through his path. Okay? Fictional story. And when I was interviewing my guest, this author, about this book, he kept referencing his mother and that she read his newest book and she loved it and gave him great feedback. So I knew it wasn't his mother who died in a drunk driving accident because his mother's still with us and supporting him as an author. But this is really a specific book and very specific story. And I'm like, I don't understand kind of where the inspiration came for this fictional story. And I don't think he did either, as the author. But then during the course of our conversation, going back to the idea of referencing what your guest just said and tying things together and creating callbacks, the 3 things I just mentioned, he started talking about when he was 1 year of age. His mother was on television talking about the death of her father, who was killed while fishing, interesting, by a drunk boater. And I said to him, that's it. And he looked at me, he's like, what do you mean that's it? I'm like, that's where you got the idea for the book. It's a drunk boater, not a drunk driver. And it was a mother, but not your grandfather. And he just, his eyes got really big. because he didn't even put it together until that moment. And the look on his face in the recording was priceless. He didn't even tie it all together. But all I was doing was just listening. All I was doing was tying the ideas together, creating a callback, referencing what they said, giving them their words back in a different way. I had a psychiatrist on my show, and at the end, we were done recording, and she said, "Can I ask you a question?" I'm like, "Sure." She said, "Have you ever gone to school to learn, like, for psychiatry?" And I'm like, no, never. And she said, "Because the conversation I just had with you on your show would have been a conversation I would have with my peers." Like, we got into some stuff today that's the kind of level of what we just did. She's like, who are you? And that's what a good podcast feels like for a guest. It's not surface level. Reference what your guests have said, tie the ideas together in real time. None of this was scripted. No, I didn't even have my questions written down. I was responding in real time to my guest. Play off each other. It really works well. And then lastly, and I'm going to do a separate episode to continue with this because there's even more things I want to chat about, but this last section, suggest but don't control. In a band, there needs to be a leader, but even the leader is not a dictator for the band. A healthy band has multiple inputs. A healthy band has space for everybody. Everyone's opinion matters. Nobody's just there as a hired gun to play an instrument and get out of here. We all work together. We're a family. Bands are families. We travel together. We rehearse together. We record together. We play live together. We pack up and carry each other's stuff. Everybody has a role in a band. No one wants to be the dictator in a band. We do need a leader, but no one's a dictator. And the best bands are a collaborative approach. As a podcaster, we need to bring that sense into our show. We need to guide gently. Guide our guest, guide the topic, guide our listener. We're guiding gently. That's our goal, right? Think of a tour guide. We're not pushing people through the door. We're leading them towards the next thing. We're a guide. We offer direction without forcing it. We're not there to make somebody do something. We lead people, right? And we let the conversation breathe. When we control, it kills creativity. But guidance fuels creativity, and it makes your podcast feel so alive. Don't control your show. Guide your show. Be the guide. Think of the tour guide. Be the guide that's leading people, giving people knowledge, making them aware of their surroundings and what they're doing and where they are in the moment, and giving them some of the history and some of the insights without forcing it. These are some of the things that we as podcasters can learn from band members and from bands. And I want you to go and listen, go to YouTube and watch a live concert, go to your actual in-person live concert, go to a little club, watch the band. But don't just go there for the music, but watch how the band interacts with each other. Watch when they smile when somebody does something and they're like, and the other person in the band looks over like, "Oh my gosh, that was really good." Watch the band. Watch how they interact with each other. Watch how they acknowledge each other, how they play off each other. And let that be a lesson for you as a podcaster, that you can approach your podcast just like a band approaches live performance and music. Listen to a song and deconstruct it in your mind. Pull out all the parts, separate them into sections and go, there's the bass, there's the drum, there's the keys, there's the guitar, there's a third guitar, there's a second guitar, there's the voice, there's the backup vocals. Break them into little pieces. It's a great exercise. When you go for your next walk or you have time alone with music, pick your favorite song and just deconstruct it. It's a great experience for any new musician, long-term musician, somebody who just loves music. Just pull it all apart. It's a great experience. Treat your podcast like a band approaches music. And in doing so, you're going to learn more about yourself and your audience. And you're going to have a better show. It's going to be more entertaining and more engaging for your audience because you're showing up like a band. If you have any questions, please reach out. I'd love to help you. And if you just want to talk music, please reach out to me. howtopodcast.ca. Thanks for being here. I'm going to have another episode because I have more points and I don't want to make this a super long episode. So I'll come back with a part 2. Okay? You'll come back too? All right. Talk soon. So here at the How to Podcast series, we love to hear from you. You might think that we get a lot of feedback. Man, we don't. We don't get a lot because people just feel like, why bother? Like, why? Does Dave really care what I have to say? And I do. I actually do really care what you have to say. I love your input. I love hearing from you. And we've started a survey for our listening audience, which includes you right here, right now. And I'd love for you to head over to howtopodcast.ca. And you'll see our survey right there on our website. And take a few minutes, come through, answer the thoughtful questions we're asking of you to make the show better. Not just for you, but for everyone. Your feedback is really going to help shape the show. And I selfishly just want to hear from you. So if you're thinking, Dave probably already knows what I think, I don't. I really don't. I'm not good at reading minds. My wife will confirm that completely. So I don't really know what you think of the show. I don't know if you like it, if you like how long the show is, how long the episodes are, that Dave's doing 365 episodes in a year. Oh my gosh. I would love to hear from you and get your thoughts on this very show right here. So head over to howtopodcast.ca. Click on our survey link. It's also in the show notes for every episode, in the most recent episodes, and I'd love to hear from you. So, as a listener of this here very show, your feedback can make this show so much better. So much better. And I'm not drowning in emails and voice messages and speak pipes and buy me a coffees right now. So, I'm putting the ask out to you right now, as a listener of the show, and you're still here, that you take a moment, head over to our website, click the link in the show notes for any episode, and go to our survey and let us know your thoughts about this show, how it could be better, and what you love, and what you're like, Dave, can you stop doing this? That would be really helpful. Thanks for being here and being part of the How to Podcast family. See you over at howtopodcast.ca. Talk soon. Thanks for being here. Bye. You're still here. Okay, great. This is a little bonus stuff for the end of the episode. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. When we talk music and podcasting, the one thing I want you to think about is not everything that you do needs to be recorded. Not everything you do needs to be released. As a band member, in many, many bands, we have had rehearsal after rehearsal after rehearsal that have never been recorded. The output of what we've done in rehearsals have never made it into the world. They're there just for us to gel, to figure out our parts and learn how to listen to each other. They're practice. They're group practice. They're not meant to be performed or released, nothing. They're just there for us to gel as a group, as a collection of musicians in one space. And as podcasters, I feel like when I talk to podcasters and I bring up the idea that you need to practice more, that I get pushback. Pushback from podcasters like you. They're like, well, why would I practice? I'm just going to hit record and release it. That's still practice. Yeah, but it's also probably not that great. We work through our parts. We stop and we go over that chorus one more time. We do that outro again and again and again and again until it becomes perfect. We rehearse. We invest the time to make things happen. And as podcasters, I don't see a lot of people committed to the idea of rehearsing and getting better and not having to release everything that you do. Everything you record does not need to be released. It's okay for you to record an episode and just delete it. That's called practice. Baseball players go to batting cages. Golfers go and hit a bucket of balls out and try driving the ball. People practice. It's okay to practice. And it's okay not to release it. So if you want to get better at what you do behind the mic as a podcaster, then practice. It's okay. Not everything needs to be released. Not everything needs to go out into the world. Practice. It's okay to practice and delete. Practice and delete. It's fine. If you need any help with your podcast, if you just want to practice with somebody, then reach out to me. howtopodcast.ca. I'd love to help you. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate you listening to the show and listening to the end of the show. Thank you. It means a lot. Catch you tomorrow.